Hey, Devin here. In today's video, we'll be talking about how to design a relationship survey. So the first question you might be asking is, what the heck is a relationship survey? It's a good question. Simply put, it's like an annual survey for your customers, which measures the overall perception of your organization. So the survey is meant to give you this high-level view of customer satisfaction and attempts to measure the health of your relationship with your customers. So typically it focuses on quantifying things like customer loyalty, referral likelihood, and customer lifetime value. So a couple things to note about the relationship survey. One is that you shouldn't use them in a transactional way. So ideally, you don't want the customer to receive the survey when they've just purchased a product or service. So for example, if you go get a haircut, you don't want that to be the trigger for the survey. And typically, there's no trigger for the survey and should be treated like an annual or biannual cadence. So let's actually get into survey design. So I recently came back from a chiropractor appointment. So this survey will be designed around a fictitious multidisciplinary clinic. So typically a survey starts with an opening invitation, letting customers know that this information is going to be used to change the company going forward. And if appropriate, you can give an incentive such as a gift card or a free consultation. Next, we immediately follow up with the NPS question. We always ask this question up front, how likely are you to recommend your friends or family? And as many of us know in the NPS space, if a customer gives us a 9 or 10, they're called a promoter. If you rate them a 7 or 8, they're called a passive. And once you deliver a score below 6, they're called a detractor and should generate a follow-up alert. So we call that a priority alert because that customer has a high likelihood of having something they need to address. So first, we ask a simple question. Why did you give us that score? And the reason we do this is that typically customers will give you what's on top of their mind. The customer will tell you the biggest issue they are particularly facing, or if they're extremely happy, they'll give you the biggest thing they think is a differentiator that makes your company exceptional. So for now, let's act as a detractor. Let's say the whole process felt rushed. There wasn't any interaction with the chiropractor other than some small talk. Let's say there's no suggestions or advice or expertise, and they had 5 other patients in the same time slot. Next, we ask about unresolved issues. And it's better to ask an open end than close end because you're trying to have a conversation with your customer here. So the first question we often ask is, do you have any unresolved issues? We ask this because we really want to capture what's on top of the mind of the customer, and it's a way of progressing the relationship. So we want to get those unresolved issues on the table and address them as soon as possible. And of course, once I type that in, you're going to see that it's going to be something very specific about an issue. For example, the company could have forgotten to have emailed the invoice and it's been over a month. Next, we want to go a little more specific. We like to ask about the staff because generally, staff in most situations is a very critical aspect of a service-based business. So we ask them to rate what are the things that are most important to your staff. And again, in this case, let's say I'm not very happy with, let's say, their professionalism. And I didn't give them super high marks on punctuality or knowledge. So I'm probably going to want to give you some feedback specific on those topics. For example, let's say professionalism. They weren't wearing the proper attire for the workplace and they kept chatting with their colleagues during my session. For knowledge, let's say I had an issue with consistent headaches, but I was given no explanation on why that is happening. And let's say punctual. The appointment was 30 minutes late. Again, a piece of information doesn't really affect the relationship, but if the customer noticed it, you can correct that very specific issue around a person's, let's say, professionalism, knowledge, and punctuality. You'll start to see themes developing in many of these survey interviews because if there's an issue, it'll come up multiple times. So next, we like to ask about offerings. In this case, it's a service-based company. So we're going to be asking about specific service categories and how well this company is doing on those. And again, if there's anything that's scored low, you're going to be asking for some follow-up information on that. So for example, let's say I'm using all my healthcare benefits and I only have an issue with a chiropractor. So I can write, the chiropractor rushes the services and it's not personalized at all. So now this is very useful information because it's a very specific service-based issue. And this can be sent directly to, let's say, the business owners or management to handle it themselves. So next, we ask the questions that revolve around the brand value. So what does your company stand for? And how does the customers perceive it? So if your customers and brands are well perceived by your customers, you'll find that you'll get a greater increase in the market value. So we'll go here and give them all high marks, except for, let's say, an easy process. Let's say the billing insurance always takes so long and it doesn't go through, right? We don't ask about everything, but for the ones that are low, we're going to ask for some follow-up information. So this information sometimes will not be exactly specific, but it can certainly lead you into a warm conversation where you do follow up with this particular customer. And you only follow up with them if they give you permission to do so. So if it's like, yes, you can. And finally, it's a good idea to do a quick confirmation at the end because your system can make mistakes. Staff could enter wrong information. Someone could have a spelling error. And about 30% of people move or change some critical data, like if they got married or they changed their phone numbers. So we ask customers to do this themselves. And once they enter this information, and this automatically should send a note to some administrative person to take care of it right away. And once they click next, they're done. And that's how quick a survey should really be with a customer. So in the next video, I'll show you how we can convert this survey into a closed loop feedback system inside Qualtrics, which acts as a ticketing system where you can get back to your customers and drive continuous improvement in your organization. So again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a comment below. Thank you. Bye-bye.